So welcome. So we'll start with item number 1, the department head reports. We'll start with, oh, I'm sorry. It's not on here. Roll call. Oh, there it is. Roll call. Sorry. I'm new.
Here.
Here. Here.
Here. Here. Here.
I'll get the hang of it eventually. All right. Department head reports. City administrator. It's not on this one.
Oh, okay. That's all right. Not an issue.
Good evening, everybody. Just wanted to welcome everybody here tonight. It's a nice turnout. I like that. First of all, I want to talk about the 2023 budget. Ben and I are working on the budget for 2023. We would like to start budget meetings next week. I will keep everyone at council apprised on this. South Industrial Parks, if you haven't had a chance to look at our South Industrial Park, please do. The area looks very nice, very nice. City Council, City Hall virtual tour. Recently, I hired the services of Northstat's photo and video to do a virtual tour of our City Hall and council chambers. Be sure to check out his work under City Hall on City Hall on our website, under City Hall on our website located at amorywi.gov. He does very nice work. Beaumont appraisal. The push to finish the valuations of all property is happening with the city assessors. The focus is on residential properties in the city. This is our final year for valuations of property, and we will have costs for that ready at board of review, which is moved out to October. If anyone sees vehicles looking at their property, these are most likely the city assessors. Developers in the city. I have been working very closely with a few prospective developers, like I reported last month. They are interested in doing projects within the city and its outskirts. And they're coming close to fruition. There's one for sure. So I will keep everyone. ARPA funds, we're still reviewing how to spend our ARPA funds. A few ideas come to mind, and I want to have serious discussion by next month at our budget meeting. Please come ready to discuss your city funds. Airport manager, Public Works Director Jeff Mahoney, and myself are sharing duties as airport managers. Jeff recently inspected the hangars, which consisted of viewing the interior of the hangars to make sure compliance is met, the storage of aviation equipment. We're both learning a lot about functions at the airport and hope to keep the facility running smoothly. Landscaping at the city center over the next few weeks. The city center will be getting much needed east and west landscaping. It's going to look nice. The area will be clean and get a nice update. Patrick Avera. I know former Alderperson Tim Strobush brought this up, and it was approved by council. But the City of Amory Department head, staff, and City Council will be meeting on Wednesday, August 17th, with Mr. Avera to focus on the government and structure for the City of Amory. This should be a very productive learning and spirit experience for all involved. Questions? I'm also going to read Rachel Thomas's report because she's out ill. She said the library has a few summer reading program updates and reminders. The presentation on shipwrecks next Monday, the 25th, will be moved to the Amory Area Public Library. We will have a presentation in the makerspace room in the basement. Our summer reading program finale will be on Saturday, the 30th at North Park Picnic Shelter. We will start at 10 a.m. with entertainment for the kids. After the entertainment, we will draw the winners for the summer reading program prizes. Winners do not need to be present. We will contact anyone who has won the prize. We've had a great turnout for summer reading program. Approximately 200 kids and adults have actively participated in the program, and the programs have been very well attended. Thanks to Amy, our Oakland Youth Services librarian, for her hard work in planning this summer's program. Thank you to the Amory area schools for supporting and promoting the library's summer reading program, and thank you to our friends of the library for providing financial resources for prizes and special programs. Regarding our youth services position, an offer has been made and accepted in a start date plan for August 8th. More details at our next meeting in August. The organizational improvement training sounds great and I'm interested in attending, but I do need to discuss the training with the library board. The cost for my participation in our training budget is restricted. Because this is an unplanned expense, the expenditure does need to be approved by the library board. So she's going to check to see if she can participate. She'll discuss that on the 25th. Lastly, I'm pleased to report that I have been appointed by the governor to the Council on Library and Network Development. The council works on statewide library services and resource sharing, interlibrary loan, databases, and resources like Badger. and even topics like broadband equity. This is a 3-year term, and I look forward to serving the state of Wisconsin in this council. Good job,
Oh,
everyone.
congratulations. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. Awesome. Thank you, Patty.
Yep.
Clerk Treasurer Ben Jansen, we have back tonight.
So my time has been filled with a lot of voting and a lot of training. So last week I went to my 3rd year of the Clerk Treasurers Institute. This is the last clerk year. Next year will be the treasurer's completion. Early in-person absentee voting starts next Tuesday for the August 9th primary, and my special voting deputies will be going around to the different care facilities next Wednesday. Like Patty said, we continue to work on the budget for next year. There's been a couple updates. WRS changed their rates, things like that. So those went up a little bit. As Rick might remember, we had a special fire committee meeting today to talk about purchasing a new truck, which they did approve. So we'll start to work on that for the borrowing, things like that. And then finally, I will start my final emergency management class in about 6 weeks, after which I will receive my grad certificate from EWS and that. So
Cool.
looking forward to being done with that.
Congratulations.
That's about it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Police Chief Marson.
It's probably a little bit longer.
I see 2
Need
pages.
a break. Good evening, all. I provided to the council the activity report for the month of June. Please let me know if there's any questions or if you'd like to see different or additional items on a monthly basis. The MRPD has been very busy in dealing with various things, especially with calls after dark and later during the night here. So we've adjusted our hours a little bit to provide more coverage there. So we continue to work on ordinance violations within our community. Jeff from Public Works has recently installed most of the ATV route signage there. Apparently I can't count because we're a little short. And they're waiting on a few more signs to complete the project. I also believe that our recent Facebook postings may have helped in explaining the new changes along with prohibited areas. Last year, the council approved some updated parking restrictions on Keller Avenue in the downtown area there. And Jeff and I, earlier in the year, like last year, agreed that maybe we should wait, pause the purchase and installation of them just to see how things were going in the downtown area prior to that. At this point, neither one of us have fielded any parking related concerns. We would ask if people have concerns, please contact either Public Works or the police department to let us know there. I mean, certainly if some of the concerns that I had or others had haven't developed yet, maybe it's just let's wait and see the ordinance are on the books there, and then we can purchase the signs if that's needed at some point. National Night Out is scheduled for Tuesday, August 2nd from 5 to 8 p.m. It's a joint effort with the Henry Fire Department, EMS. It's always been a great success in our community. A big thanks to Chris Branson from the fire department, who spearheaded this event since it started. Some changes are already and will occur with the Henry Police Department. Barb, our administrative assistant, retired in June. She was a great asset to our department for almost 8 years, and she'll be greatly missed. We are beginning the process of filling the position so we can bring the staffing level back to 100%. We have been forced to close our administrative office more times than we would like, so we're looking forward to getting that position filled. Well, 2 weeks ago, the council approved the promotion of Officer Jason Hickok. If Jason wants to come forward there to the position of lieutenant as the second in command of the department. As we talked about, he will continue to have patrol duties with additional administrative duties as well. Wanted to put a face to Jason.
Hi.
Jason.
Congratulations.
Jason's been with us about a little over 2 years there. He's had other jobs in a couple of different counties and municipalities there, and we certainly look forward to him with that lieutenant position there, and we're putting him to work right now.
Congratulations.
Last but not least, and although the free press and I've seen that in the paper there on July 7th, I tendered my notice of retirement to the city administrator effective September 7th. We've taken some scheduled time off during that time as well, and although my fellow city workers know, especially Ben and Patty, I'm always around anyway. It has truly been an honor and privilege to serve my law enforcement career for over 42 years in Polk County, more than 37 years in my own community with the Henry Police Department in various capacities, including as chief for over 19 years. I've always considered my role in this profession to be part of a team effort, and thank all of those I've worked with over the years, and I wish the best for the department and the city of move forward. Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh.
Chuck, the fire department.
Mine's a lot shorter. Much shorter. Evening. Good news today. I wrote this last night, but the good news today, I got an email saying that we have a new tender in the making, I should say. I don't know what all the details are yet. I just got here from work, so hopefully it's an upgrade. A lot better than what we got right now, anyway. We're still waiting for Hunt Electric to get back to us with a date on updating the generator. And to get it working properly in case they have a power outage. We do have a building permit for it, so whenever they get back to me, if you can get it going, hopefully it'll be soon. But they said they're gonna take care of everything. So, just waiting on that. Well, I'll skip number 2. That was the quote on the vendor. Hopefully Rick will have some more information. I called Pierce Manufacturing yesterday. They are in the process of making the PO for getting engine 2 refurbished. As soon as they have that PO, he said they'll let me know. And it'll take about 6 months to get everything to get there. Once I get it, you'll add on 6 months, and that's when we can take the truck to them. Monday night, we had extrication, and we used our new battery operated jaws. So them are gonna go on our squad, and we are gonna have squad 8, our quick attack truck, be the first truck out. So it's gonna be really great. I mean, it's really gonna be a good deal to have. I mean, that truck goes a lot faster. And with the battery operated jaws, it doesn't matter how far out in the field, they need to be extra again, we can get alternative. So it's gonna be a good addition. And last but not least, there are a lot of pools being filled. Remember that the city of Amory does have an ordinance on pools. If your pool does not meet the ordinance guidelines, the pool will not be filled. We just do not want to take the responsibility of filling a pool and having a child. So, Mitch Lee, who organizes the pool fills, he said he'll go and he'll check it. If the ordinance ain't there, they don't meet the ordinance, we didn't get the fill. Oh, and by the way, I just wanted to add, I want to thank Joe Satry for all the work that he did looking for the tenders. All the information, I don't think there's a dealer or somebody who fixes fire trucks that he didn't call. And he had us on their list. Joe did a really good job. Plus, I also want to thank all the other firefighters for searching for a tender. So, any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck. Jeff Mahoney, Director of Public Works.
Good evening, everyone.
Hello.
First thing I'd like to do is thank the fire department for taking over the 4th of July again. There's no reason we should be blaming fire. That was awesome. We spent a lot of time this month repairing parks. We've had everything from graffiti, broken toilets, broken sinks. I mean, I don't know what to say. The kids are just, it gets bad. I mean, even the band shell got vandalized, and there's, I don't know what to say on that, but we need to do something. So if people are out there and they see the kids messing around, call the police. We also had a couple sewer problems, of course. People are still flushing the rags and the flushable wipes. They're not flushable. No sweeping, patching, and cleaning streets. Repairing a lot of storm sewers and inlets. And if you're going out the ditch for the mall area tomorrow. They're gonna be milling it. Thursday or Friday, they'll be paving it. So I'll just, there's gonna be problems and it's gonna slow everybody down. We also had a couple more water valve repairs. The crew is all locating and GIS mapping for all these developments that are looking to go on and stuff, and hopefully that all works out. Burning water valve, we have to do every valve in town annually. And I would like to ask any residents, all the sidewalks in front of your house and the curbs, everything's grown with grass, just would take time to clean them up yourselves. We're trying to get around to do it, but there's a lot of them. That's about it. Any questions?
Yeah. You mentioned earlier at an earlier meeting that the North Harriman was scheduled to have the,
Okay, I talked to Monarch, and what we're gonna do, we gotta get that storm sewer still fixed through there. And they don't know, trying to talk Nick into it, but they don't know if they'll be able to get to it this year or if it'll be early next spring. But we're still gonna get it all cleaned up. Hopefully they can get to it yet. That's the dilemma. There's a lot of townships and stuff, he said, that aren't getting what they want either. They're just running low on through and every time and everything too, just like everybody else. But we do have the money for it.
what, you have some other streets on schedule for redoing besides the mall,
We
Jeff?
did, no, with the mall area and North Park, ate up 90% of our budget and the painting that's gonna go on. I've got some money left to try to do this. Hopefully I can get them in here.
Last question. You mentioned graffiti and damage. Are those areas that we have cameras on?
Yes, and that's the police.
We were able to identify the responsible persons for the one at Michael Park.
Cool.
Jeff and I still, we haven't had, at least I'm aware of up at North Park, a lot of
No,
there, but we also have a camera system up there that's similar to the one at Michael Park, of which we have access on our phones to look at the cameras there. We haven't got that yet up at North Park there. We need to get that in there. The problem area is the beach area there, which has no internet. How do we
and it's all. big
identify them? I
concrete
know
structure.
officers have been doing extra patrol and stuff, but mainly the damage is in the bathrooms and things like that.
At the old beach area?
And that's why we have shut down the bathrooms even now. We don't even unlock them. We got a porta potty out for the pickleball people. Same group of kids that just keep trashing it. Just kind of run out of patience and time.
Maybe the solution is to tear that bathhouse down,
It's an option too.
put the property on the, up for sale.
I'm not going there.
It's just speculation, you know?
Yeah. But it's bad there.
Yeah.
They wreck, anything they get there, they wreck. We put the dock out, didn't last 2 weeks and they broke it. What do you do?
Either got to camera it or,
I'm kind of new to the area. I bought a house for the last October. And in regards to the beach down there, I would not be opposed to us coming together as a community and doing maybe a neighborhood watch, if that would be a solution. Also helping the police force to monitor that area, as I do live on that side of town. And I know other neighbors that I've talked to have also, and that's kind of why I'm here today. I have a lot to say about that area. They are also willing to come out and help with walking the park area and cleaning up the park area as well.
sounds like a good job for our new lieutenant.
And if you get a hold of either myself or.
I'm from a small town and I've always grown up in a small town and I appreciate the small town feel. And that's kind of why I told Amber to live here, is because it reminds me of home. And I would like to be able to see our area down there because it's a better place.
I think that's a great idea. Once you get hold of myself or Lieutenant Vic there, maybe we can exchange information and see how we can work together on that. Thank you very much.
No problem.
All right, thank you, Jeff.
I snuck away.
Good job, Jeff.
Do we have a report from Taylor? Okay, all right, thank you. All right, moving along to number 2.
I know that
Oh, I'm sorry, Dan. My apology. Yep, Dan Kegley, come on up. Wanted to give us an update on inspections, et
Even though we had
cetera.
an orange shirt, Jeff sneaked out. Why would you do that?
It distracted me.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for having me. So just want to give you an update on the building inspector stuff and the contract that we've worked through and stuff like that. So hopefully we've done a good job to try to make that all work and everything to make everybody satisfied in that. We've also worked with Bryce Christopherson at the Christopherson Eye Clinic. We've rented out the suite 1 in the basement there. So we've moved from our home office there. So we're currently working out of 341 Keller Avenue North there moving forward. So anybody who needs a permit, stop by the office there and the gals will be able to help us out there. Beth likes to walk the 2 blocks to the office now, so she's enjoying the summer walk now over there.
Good.
And then we're looking to hire some staff, so if anybody knows of any staff, we're looking for a manager as well as some office attendant kind of person. So we're looking for a couple more employees to hire on over there. So if anybody knows anybody, that'd be certainly helpful. And then just for credentialing and stuff, I'm scheduled to do some testing in mid-August and in October to keep moving forward with credentialing, get that done. So hopefully we get fully credentialed and everything. So just want to give you an update on all that.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
All right, so on to number 2, the Amory Community Center Founders Day discussion. So I've got Jen Tyman and Gail Tussman. I'm guessing that's why you're here?
Yes.
Yes,
Gail's here.
awesome.
So I'm Jen, for those of you who don't know, I'm the director of the community center. So the idea of the community center, all started with the talk of how nice it would be to have a place to go and socialize. Maybe play some games such as bingo or bridge. And we are grateful for the very generous supporters that took the initiative to find a space or to finance such a project. As a result of those founders and many volunteers, the center had its grand opening in 1987. On Wednesday, August 3rd, from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m., we are celebrating our 35th year and honoring those generous and hardworking people at our Founders Day. We have a short presentation at 12:15 elaborating on the history of the center and its founders. And I want to invite all of you to come by and see what we have for events during that day.
And can you review the times? I think it's an all-day event.
It's
Am
an
I
all-day
correct with
event,
that?
yeah.
Mhm.
So during the day, we're going to have different things like just exhibition of how to play bridge and mahjong, and we have bingo starting at 5:30. Anyone's welcome. $2 buy-in, and then everyone, all cash pays back out. So if you win a game, you might win $5. Who knows? So, and then we have some a light lunch and a light dinner served as well during that time. Wednesday, August 3rd, from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Anyone else have any questions?
And I think you have another contest going along
Yes,
with
we
that
also-
as well.
We also have a
photography
photo
contest.
contest going on right now too. I'm looking to decorate our newly renovated space, and I thought what better way to bring the community into the community center as to have pictures from around the community. So through July 29th, so next Friday at 3 p.m., I'm accepting 8x10 photo size photos of anything Amory. So a candid shot of someone at Music on the River, or a scenery shot of, someone just submitted one of the sunset over the cemetery today. So anything like that would be awesome. I have lots of space to fill, so I'm sure there'll be plenty of photos to fill them with. But
Awesome. Thank you.
thank you.
And number 3, Chad, you want to take this over?
Yeah, so Tim Strobush announces resignation from the city council last week, and we just wanted to take a minute to recognize Tim for his contribution. So Tim, if you can come up to the podium, that'd be great. So in April of 2014, so you're almost going to be towards 10 years, right? So congratulations on your dedicated service, and we really want to thank you for all that you've done for Amory and for the council to help make the decisions on a monthly basis. And some of those were easy decisions, some of those were not so easy, but that's why we got them here, because we really care about the city, and that's been exhibited by you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim.
Okay, next on the list, wastewater treatment plant funding discussion. So who's on that? Jeremiah.
All right, good evening, Mayor and Council. I believe that in your packet you had the memo and some information from us on the funding of wastewater treatment plant that we kind of started to talk about last time, and brought back a little more information. And so wanted to kind of go through that memo first, talk about some of the potential funding options, and then we'll kind of talk about the overall funding costs and schedules, those types of things. So really three primary funding sources that we would consider for this type of a project. And the first one is the Wisconsin DNR Clean Water Fund. So this is a state revolving fund program that DNR administers, and it is also kind of the location where funds from like federal infrastructure bills end up being distributed. And so the kind of going through the bullet points here, typically the program kind of specializes or generally works in subsidized loans. So a loan at an interest rate that's a certain percentage of whatever the market interest rate is. And so the monies that are in the account are used to subsidize that interest rate, and then the payments go back into that revolving fund. The program does at times offer principal forgiveness, or their version of a grant that's based on how the DNR scores the project. And that has to do with a number of factors, including what the median household income is in the community, the population. And generally that amount has been capped at $750,000 per community per year. So nothing official has been released yet, but the guidance that is starting to come out of DNR is that with the additional infrastructure monies that are available from the federal government, that cap will likely move up to $2 million per community per year, which is good news. And generally that amount, the percent of your project that is eligible for principal forgiveness is based on a number of different factors that kind of go into that priority list. So we're guessing a little bit at this point about what that program will look like, but this is kind of the best information that we've got to date. So in order to pursue that program, what we would do is file an intent to apply this October that would make us eligible for funding, to apply for funding next year. And that would be for a fiscal year 2024 project. So not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but that would mean, just the intent to apply this year is a very simple document that we would just submit to get on the list. Next year, then when we submit our application, we mean having biddable plans and specs done and having the funding application completed by September 30th of 2023 for potential construction start date in 2024. And if you remember, we talked a little bit about schedule last time. That's kind of the milestones that we're using for that schedule. So again, we're kind of guessing on this, but we did put together, based on kind of the current guidance, the median household income for Amory, and how that calculates out for principal forgiveness is possibly 25% of project costs. Now, recall we're talking about a project that's between $9 and $10 million. So we would max out that $2 million in principal forgiveness if that's the route that the state goes with how it's distributed. And then the remainder would be a subsidized loan at 55% of the market rate. So in talking with staff, we think that's a good option to pursue. The second one on the list is community development block grants. And that's a program that the city has used for some of the downtown projects in the past. So that is strictly a grant program. So It's a 2-to-1 match, you get up to $1 million in grant, and the city kicks in match of $500,000. Amory would qualify for, based on the median household income and the low to moderate income ratio. The one caveat with this, it is a competitive program. And one of the guidance things that they're changing for starting next year, is that you get additional points for having essentially bid-ready plans and specs when you apply. So the application deadline is in May. We wouldn't be ready to have biddable plans and specs next May. So it potentially would push the project back a year if we decided to pursue CDBG funding, but that's something we can, a bridge we don't need to cross right now. We can decide that, as we get further down the line and have that conversation, a year from now and then the third alternative is through USDA rural development. Generally used for more financially distressed communities, typically harder to get grant dollars through this program, especially if, as we talked about, our current sewer rates are less than 1% of median household income. Generally they're looking at, when those rates get above 2%, then, you kind of start to hit some of their affordability criteria where you get more grant funding. The one thing that's sometimes more attractive about this one is that it allows you to amortize that loan out over a longer period, up to 40 years. So for communities that, maybe won't be able to make those payments on a 20-year, this would allow them to kind of stretch that out over more time. So I think that's the highlight. We got some information in the memo on current interest rates. Obviously, those are going to change possibly dramatically before we would apply and lock in funding for it. So that's kind of highlights on the grant side. I think the takeaway is I think we're in a good position to potentially get grant funding through Clean Water Fund. We can kind of put a pin in the CDBG funding and decide, next year if we want to hold off, pursue that funding, or if we feel like we want to move forward and bid the project to start construction. So the other sheets that were included, one of them just kind of has some potential other funding scenarios. If we get Clean Water Fund only, our net project cost is $8 million. Combine that with, or CDBG only, project cost is $9 million. If we were to combine them, we're at about $7 million. The spreadsheet is much more exciting than this, than the round numbers. But it does some fun stuff. That's what we have. And then on the payment schedule, we put this, I guess, more for staff's use, but just, if we did start a design project this fall, kind of what would those expenditures look like from, obviously we wouldn't have that funding in place right away until we were into the construction process. So there's some of these costs that the city would have to be able to cover upfront, either through fund balance or interim financing or those types of things. So that's just to kind of help us think through what that payment schedule would look like. I think that's the highlights from my side. Patty, did you have more from?
I did send over in your emails what I got from Justin at Baird today, and he kind of put out projections as well. So I can look those over, but from his perspective, and he also talked about not raising the rates all at one time, but we would do it incrementally, and that would be easier for the taxpayers to pay. Just because you're going to jump on the cost of sewer rates all at once, it's prohibitive to a lot of people. So we want to do it as a step increase. I know we talked about just little increases, so that's easier to handle.
And if any of the council would like to go down to the plant and see kind of what some deficiencies are or whatever, I'd be more than willing to do it and show you what you want down there.
I think the DNR, something has to be done.
Yeah, and I think that, the city's in a good position where, we're not under orders from the DNR to do something immediately, but for the city to be proactive and get out in front of it before you end up in that situation is certainly a much more desirable scenario.
The way I look at it, sewer fund is a really good position now, so the startup costs for this, like design phase, engineering, those types of things, we can handle that. So. And then, like we talked at the meeting, when we get further into the project, we can.
So at this point, do we have any action that we need to take to authorize the start of this? Because it sounds like by October, there needs to be a filing, but is there other work that needs to be authorized along with that?
I think, if we want to kind of be on the schedule to submit the ITA this fall is not really any effort, to that. So that's not a big deal. I think though the bigger issue is kind of getting the design started so that we're in a position where we can finish it by September 30th of next year to meet that funding deadline if we are gonna pursue clean water funding. So, I think we had this laid out, assuming that we would start design in, this fall, essentially September, October, to generally have about a 12-month period to complete that design and get that submitted to DNR next year. So I think, a couple of things in terms of next steps, we could put together a proposed contract for design, get that in front of the city. So, that'd be kind of the next major milestone. The other thing we talked about a little bit last time is the facility plan. At some point during this process, we need the council needs to take formal action on that facility plan to have a public hearing where, we let folks know here's kind of the direction that we're headed, and then formally adopt that facility plan, and then we would submit that to DNR for their review to get in their review line. So those are kind of like the next pieces of this.
Is there any reason to not move forward with that at this point?
I think Jeremiah was going to talk about in the facilities plan, there's a scope of area where the setbacks are. He was going to show that.
Yes. And Princeton, I can't continue with that.
Thank you.
But I would like Jeremiah to touch on that because we want this portion of the plan, the way it's laid out with the setbacks, that's going to affect future development in the city. Like I said, we have a couple developers in mind, and I do not want to hinder that process. So if you could-
Yeah, no, that's good, thanks. So essentially what the code requires is that treatment plant is supposed to be, the facilities are supposed to be 500 feet setback from any residential or commercial buildings. And so if we're building a new treatment plant, and it's gonna go in in an existing neighborhood or something like that, obviously you can imagine there'd be concerns. And so that's kind of the heart of that requirement, I guess. When we put the facility plan together, so back up just a step here. There's also a way to get around this. Okay, so DNR, the intent of the rule is not to say anytime you rehab an existing treatment plant, like you've got to move it out of town somewhere because obviously that gets quite expensive. So there's a process that we'll have to go through as we move forward with this, where we'll have to notify the folks that are within that 500-foot radius, and essentially, kind of make a good faith effort to get them to agree that yes, we understand you're upgrading this, and this is the most cost-effective option. And then part B of that is to pass a zoning ordinance that restricts future development within that 500-foot setback. Now, that setback we had shown in the draft facility plan, we had measured from the property line to say, okay, this kind of frees us up to be able to do any future expansion we want on the city's property here at the treatment plant site. But we don't have to be that restrictive, and that's where the setback came through the school property, which is really pretty much the only undeveloped parcel within that setback. So we don't have to be that restrictive. That was just kind of a, worst case scenario. So we can measure from where our structures are gonna go as part of this project. And that's what this figure is that we just passed out. So essentially that setback would reach out to, basically to Otis Street, on the east side there, and wouldn't go beyond that to the east. Now, if we expand the plant in the future, we may have to go through this exercise again, which isn't a huge deal, but, essentially we would just make sure wherever we're developing within the treatment plant site either meets that setback requirement from this zoning ordinance action, or we would revise that at a future date, 20 years down the road. when we end up Doing expansion. So that's kind of the quick version of that. So that's a process, I talked about next steps. This is a process that we kind of have to run in parallel with the design as well, is, getting these the zoning ordinance in place, making sure we get documentation of that we've contacted these homeowners and that type of stuff too.
So what's our liability issues on this? If, for instance, we got a pretty good chunk of Keller Avenue that's in that 500 feet, including some land that we don't know who owns exactly at the corner of Geronda and Keller, and Compass Realty and so on and so forth. Are we going to get and be in a liable situation for lack of a better word for taking their expansion?
I don't know that you would, essentially what the idea, and it's your ordinance, the city's ordinance that you would pass. Now, we would, say, certify to DNR that yes, this is what we did. We passed this ordinance limiting development in this area. It doesn't mean that we're going and tearing down anything that's there or anything like that. So they can still make improvements to their property. And, you could still word that ordinance to say that, give them some peace of mind, right? That they can still make improvements to their process, to their property. But ultimately it's the city's ordinance to implement and enforce. So it would have, obviously you'd want to be comfortable with it. But the flip side of it is if we don't do anything, then DNR, will say, no, we can't have the treatment plant at this site because we don't meet this setback requirement. And that's going to be obviously a much more expensive
So at this point in time, looking forward, from what Eric said, we don't necessarily need to move on this at this point in time. However, sometime very soon, in the very soon future, we should request design costs, etc.
Yeah, I think that would be a good step moving forward. Yeah, and certainly we could, bring that to the August committee meeting potentially, if that seems like a.
Yeah, could we also just for our purposes know what balance or working funds might be from the, yeah, because that would help us make some determinations as well.
No, we haven't been audited yet, but I can show you what the 2020 audits.
And will that be enough time if we don't talk again until the August committee of the whole, which is, third week in August, bring it to the full council beginning of September, and then have to get a application in, or an intent to apply.
Intend to apply by the end of October, but
By the
that's
end of
really
October,
just,
okay.
we just
Just a form.
fill out a form and that is.
Okay.
So yes, I think that's a reasonable, that part of it is not a big deal, but I think in terms of the overall project, I think that's a reasonable timeframe. If we move forward with bringing a design contract in August, that would be approved in September. I think that puts us in a good, flow to kind of go through the rest of the design process.
Okay, so at this point in time, we'll need to table that discussion. Okay, so I'll accept the motion to table the discussion at this point in time.
So moved.
Accept a
I'll
second.
second.
Okay. Motion's been made and seconded to table this discussion until next month. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Jeremiah.
And next on the discussion list is Watermen Sanitation. Dick Waterman is here to discuss a proposal and RFP for services.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello?
Fuel. Been chewing us up,
Mhm.
keeping us alive. I brought a proposal. Pretty simple. Couple of years.
Just a question of,
Thank you.
are we asking for RFP for services? Is that, because if we are asking for an RFP, did we publish it and did
No,
it?
this is not, this is just a discussion. Dick had said he wanted to come and talk and I had
Okay,
said. well,
because a
let's
true
also-
RFP would now put him at a pretty distinct
Right,
disadvantage for anybody to come in and say, we can beat that by whatever.
Mhm.
no, we're not at the RFP stage right now. This is just discussion.
Fuel went up, been going up for a year. I was hoping it would come back down. It did not. I can't eat it anymore. I'm asking for $4 a month. This is, I'm going to 11 municipalities. I've been to 7. Everybody's the same price, so every one of my villages is the same exact price.
And we have not had an increase in our waste charges since 18 or 19. I asked Linda and she couldn't remember which year it was. It's 18 or 19, I know that. So
June of 19.
19, okay.
I've never been paid for recycling. Paid to get rid of it. For a few months there.
Where are we in our current contract?
It's unsigned. It still has garbage and recycling.
Okay.
And we haven't updated the contract.
So we're currently operating underneath the 2019 contract that included recycling.
Yes.
And then we made the council had agreed to stop curbside recycling.
Right. And that was just last year. For the time being. So what was the term of that previous contract?
10 years.
So this is just
This is an
an
contract
addendum
that, yeah,
or an addendum to the current contract or a renewal of the contract, or are we going to go out for RFP?
It's up to you. I think the way the contract reads, it's a 10-year contract, there's no recycling in it.
Mhm.
Recycling was mentioned. there's an increase to the fuel, which would be a change. Do you change the current contract to include that and no recycling, or do you go to RFP and have it? That's the question.
I think we have to back up a little bit. Dick, did you say that you had not been paid for the recycling services that you had provided?
Right, we never have
Why is
Well,
that?
actually, it was in the contract,
It
so,
was in the contract, so it was baked into the price.
right. But any changes when there were costs not to dispose of it, that
Right.
wasn't
We
included.
the county has a flow control for the recycling. It's all supposed to go to that county recycling center. They haven't let us dump most of the summer. And then a year ago, they started charging us to take it there. Well, we didn't have that in the
Right, and that was the point where we
exact.
made the decision to stop
But if you-
curbside.
If they take it to the drop-off boxes, the county hauls it and
Yeah.
you pay for it on your taxes. Now they've stopped us from dumping there. Now their machinery is in disarray. And the county they're in the works. They got an engineering firm working on it to upgrade the facility. They don't know if they want to take it single stream or if we still have to curb sort, curb separate it. They can't answer that question yet. They don't know how much money they're gonna put to it. Equipment's 20 months out if they would order it today. So it's gonna be a 2-year before we know what the answer is. My competitors, the largest two in the world, they don't take it there. They never have. We have. We think it's a nice facility to have. Should have that in the county, a recycling center. As it's going now, if they take it to the drop-off boxes, there's no charge to the people. Our carbon footprint is minimal now. That's what recycling is really all about.
Right.
Mhm.
Where do the other two take theirs?
They take it to their own facilities. There's several in the metropolitan area. There's one in Eagle River, Wisconsin, small one in Eau Claire, Waste Management. We can haul it to them, $100 a ton.
Hmm.
I think the way it's going at the county right now, the drop off is going very well.
Mhm.
They take it a little at a time, they can process it.
I think I've noticed that they're on a better schedule too.
Yes,
They're
they
picking up
they
and-
love their presence.
Yep. So it's not full every time I go.
The fuel has paid us up.
Mhm.
Anyone have any thoughts?
So are we looking at a change to the terms or add an addendum to the terms of the current contract? Or is this a new contract? It says 10-year
Right,
contract,
back
July
up on the
1.
bottom there, in 24 months, when the county
Mhm.
knows where they're at, we should discuss it again. If you want your recycling, to go there and you want it picked up at the curb, let's talk about it. I can do that. To order the carts is a 24-week wait, just to order the carts, if you wanted to go single stream. How you guys want to do that, want to go single stream or what equipment do it?
I guess we were also hoping to use a recycling committee as sort of a filter for this too.
Yeah, and I have 3 of the 5 that I need for that I'm hoping at our August meeting, I'll have the 5 to appoint.
So I think that would help. One group that has focus, that could just sort of talk these things through and figure out, because we have an opinion, everybody here has one, but it's not our only focus too. So what does our future look like?
If they're gonna have an answer for that.
No, but I think that it's going to be a matter of what kind of options do we see in the future?
So I have a question just in general. I thought a while back we talked about how we were going to move to billing monthly for all of our city stuff, including waste Does that have like an effective date
We can't do that until next year.
until next year? Okay,
Because we're going to water increase and then water rates.
okay,
So probably open the first part of the year.
Okay.
That's a system thing.
That's PSC drives the water and they right now, I think. 20 days.
The water simplified.
Well, it's simplified. Or was it only the 200? Conventionals, so conventional is 200. So if we're looking at that, it's probably.
Because as part of our current application, it dictates that we do it quarterly.
And then if we do change that, they'll have to put in the contract. There's changes coming.
right.
I'll implement them as the next question.
Well, I am of the opinion that Watermen Sanitation has done us a lot of good. And I think at this point in time, going out for an RFP beyond just getting into that mix, I don't think is necessary. I have inquired about costs as far as waste pickup in other communities around here that do not use Watermen Sanitation and is not in the best interest of our residents. It's significantly more expensive. I have done research both in Hudson and in Richmond area, and there's lots of different ways to go, but in general, the big guys are significantly more expensive. And I think the service that we have right now is top notch. He does all the other, or they do all of the other communities in our area. And I think we need to continue where we are right now. That's my opinion.
I also don't think it's unreasonable with gas prices, to
Absolutely
come
not.
back and reevaluate costs of things.
And, with that said, I think, have current contract being a 10-year contract, I think that's an exorbitant time. I think something needs to be written into the contract, I think as well, to reevaluate prices on a more regular basis. What's being proposed here today is to reevaluate in 24 months. And I think that maybe is something that we need to have in any future contracts when it comes to anything like this, that we need to have some discussion as far as, cost of doing business in general increases when you consider wages and fuel and everything that's associated therewith. I don't think having a 10-year contract is feasible at all.
And I do think we need to look at that.
Yeah.
We need to sit down.
That's why 24 months.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I think that when it was originally put together, it was to make sure that there was a commitment for a 10-year by the city
Mhm.
to make sure that the partnership worked. But I think,
We had to buy trucks and
Yep.
make sure the
yeah,
stuff was
yeah, so it
going.
was a commitment
However,
from
buying
both
trucks
directions.
is,
There's a lot of equipment out there.
buying trucks to continue serving the city is not necessarily, normal replacement is, but Dick's
For
not gonna have to
capacity.
go out and buy 2 brand new trucks so that's
They cost as much as a fire truck.
yeah, more
Yeah,
probably.
more probably. They're expensive.
So I'm not comfortable with the 10-year contract either. That just, because basically we're spending money that probably not any of us are gonna be on, or may not be on the city council at that point in time. But neither do I want to see an annual, or even 2 years might be too long or too short to have, maybe a 4-year contract or something with a 2-year evaluation.
I think that's
And
negotiable. I think
right now, so the proposal now is to continue with not picking up recyclables,
Exactly.
right?
Till we find out what the county, which direction they're gonna go.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I've mentioned it before. I have a cabin up on Yellow Lake and they have a 3 days a week or partial days. They have a facility that's open not only for recyclables, all the recyclables go through there, but also they take regular garbage, they have a compactor there and whatever, so they pack them up. And I have no idea how long, but it's attended. And they get, I think it's done really well. And I know probably wouldn't hurt Dick's feelings to say the recyclables are going through that. My only concern with doing that, or I'd make a motion that we start a recycling facility or something similar to that, is that just like our police department, we fund a police department and a library, and everybody in the county comes, and we still pay taxes to Polk County for the same, same thing. And I don't want to have to pay for the recycling center and then pay for our own besides. I think that's not a wise use of public funds. But I think maybe a 5-year contract would be, that gives you 5 years of planning, so you can, your cash flow and so on with a 2-year.
You have a way to review.
Yeah.
When things are volatile the way they are now.
Prairie is a 5-year contract with 2 1-year renewals, 2 1-year options. I go back to when we talk about those 2-year options, 2 1-year options. That's an idea.
Yeah, 2 years is probably reasonable for a evaluation, do you think? I mean, we know prices, well, in a year, fuel doubled in a year,
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't expect it's gonna go back down to $2 a gallon necessarily, but
It takes a lot longer to go down than it goes up.
yeah, but who knows, too, so.
Mhm.
So it sounds like we need to pull up our current 10-year contract, revise it, and then approve a new contract from that. Because we're currently under a 10-year contract. This is an addendum.
Based
to
on what
But
we're
it-
looking
but
at
it's
here.
it's
and-
up though, right?
No,
No,
it's not up.
It's current, but it's
To
not-
how long?
Would be another
Started in
8 years.
2019,
Yeah,
so-
10 years.
Yeah.
Would it behoove me to get a hold of Star Prairie and see what their contract says, and maybe the two of us can look through it? Get something together before next. Don't have it.
Haven't gone to them yet.
I know you mentioned that, so.
Yeah, I should do.
So maybe we could, you and I can sit down and work it so that it's amicable to what you want and what you presented to the council, and then we can bring it back to ours.
Are we under the understanding on the price? Fuel, they were dropping off a load of fuel when on my way here. Could I get an increase, starting July 1st? That's what my question is.
And then,
Can we
Chris,
get massage this contract?
So you're looking for an interim solution until a contract can be updated.
They don't send you a bill for the fuel, they just draw it out of your account. If it ain't there, they don't come back.
Mhm.
What's our current rate now?
I'm not sure. And then how
This
is
is a $4 increase.
it billed to the residents? Is it
It goes out in their water bill.
right? Is it,
So
are they paying current or past or future?
Water bill in the
So
past.
it just came out
Yep.
last week for, what was that, Q2?
Quarter two.
Yeah, so,
And you get another one in October.
right. So in the meantime, then the city would need to cover the increase starting July
July
1st.
1st.
Okay.
Or we include that in the revision of the,
They won't get billed for July.
Right.
Right.
That'll be
Right.
on the
Right.
October bill.
Right.
so that could be addressed in the new contract that we do in August, and we can make it effective as of whatever date we decide.
Cover that.
Yeah, I think that's
Yep.
more than fair.
Well, when you said new contract, we have a 10-year contract now, right?
Right.
So we don't have to have a new contract, or we are going to,
I think
I
it would
would
be,
nullify the
I
current
think that-
contract
I
and
think
create
that
a
the
new one.
discussion has to be that we will jointly leave that, we're going to end that
We're
contract.
gonna end it and
But
Go
we're
to-
both sides are agreeing to do that.
Basically, the same things in front of you.
Yep.
As the other one, it just doesn't say recycling.
Mhm.
Basically.
And the 2 years is about the time that the county has to make things go.
Over again.
Yep.
I agree.
They want curbside
Yeah.
recycling, we can do that.
Yep.
In Osceola, it's almost $13 a month for curbside recycling. People are going for that nowadays.
And that's picked up every week or twice a month?
If they show up, it's supposed to be weekly.
Okay.
All right, do we need to make any action at this point in time or know that this is going to come back to us at council meeting or a committee of the whole?
I think I would make action. You know, send it for recommendation to council that Dick and I will work on a contract based on what we presented to you tonight without recycling in there and its terms. And then we bring that to the August meeting. Council meeting.
August council meeting. Yep, I think
You
that's
should
fair.
have written that down so one of us
Yes.
could read it.
I'll write it, I'll write it.
So we could read it back and get the motion correct.
Yeah. Dick Watermen and Patty will review the contract and make the changes as discussed. And we need to bring it forward to the August.
What would you like to see for a length of time?
I think 5 sort of sounded
5 years.
right with a review after at 24 months.
So what
24
would
or 12. Like we talked about the volatility of the fuel
Yeah.
alone.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Well,
I think
this
the
already
24
includes-
months in this one is because of the recycling changes at the county level.
Right.
That's what this one's
And
reflecting.
there's already an automatic 3%
3%
increase every year.
increase, yeah.
I think
Baked in.
24 is pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
if
if it's
it
at the
gets
second year,
any more
there's,
than that, that
Well-
means you're gonna end up with,
right, but this includes a 3% increase after the second year. So I think that builds in some
yes.
safety.
We can talk about fuel all you want. But the truth is, a little bit of that is employee retention also.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that's
We all know that.
covered.
Yeah. All right. All right, so I would
Well, I would
accept.
make that motion that Patty discussed. Oh, I'm not gonna try to repeat it.
Yeah.
I'll read it back.
I would second it.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
You notice.
Yeah, I heard her say it twice. and I think she said it twice the
Okay,
same.
so Patty said it twice. Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
She said it the same way twice.
She
which
did.
is
I
even
know,
better.
that's amazing.
I did that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dick. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Dick.
All right, next on the agenda is the 5-star marketing and distribution 2023 Polk County Visitor Guide advertisement discussion. If I recall, we have a full page center ad in the Polk County, Polk County Visitors Guide, or that's not really, that I guess is what it's called. It's something we've been done for years now. And it appears as though the price is going to be the same as it has been in the past. Is that correct?
I moved forward to council the contract for that.
I'll second it.
Approve that.
Thank you. Motion's been made and seconded to forward this expense on to council. All in favor? Any further discussion? Sorry. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So budget discussion. Anything in particular you need to talk about or would like to talk about at this point in time? Yes.
I came up with another idea. Charging stations.
Yes.
What?
Electric charging stations.
Where would you put them?
Chad and I talked about that.
I think there's 2 locations that would potentially be ideal. It's either Sioux Line Park or in this parking
Right
lot, right?
across the street. That's what I would
right
think too.
across the street.
Mhm.
I had a businessman approach me about that the other day. We were talking about parking out there, and this gentleman had brought up about charging stations in the parking lot over there, so.
I think parking in that in Sioux Line Park that's the wrong way to go. That's one thing, possibly some behind your building. Possibly, I don't know, but Sioux Line
Somewhere
Park
back
and
there.
North Park are places where we have people scheduled on a regular basis to do things. And I will guarantee if you put a charging station in there, that usage is gonna change dramatically. I don't think we should do that.
But it's not a long-term visit to a charging station. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
it
a,
is. If you pull in there at 4 o'clock or 3 o'clock on Monday afternoon with 2 vehicles or 3 vehicles and park them, the farmer's market is gonna, have an issue, and any of the other things that we do too. I'm not against the
well, it's not like
parking.
we're gonna be putting in 10 charging stations. And I think what it comes down to is charging stations, they are built on you put your credit card in and you pay for it, and it's in your best interest to not stay there. I think 2 spots is a good service to the community because you never know, there's maybe people at farmers market that are using them.
I don't think that's a good use of that parking, Sarah.
There's lots of places.
I mean, we
to
can. talk
Yeah,
about
yeah,
that. mean, there's
I'm
already-
not opposed to having them. That's not it at all.
Right.
But,
I guess what I would say is put it someplace where it would serve the best.
And it's gonna
access.
be accessible and it's gonna be visible.
If it were right there, it's right on Main Street, people won't see
Yep,
them.
that's one good thing, yes.
Yeah.
Would it make sense maybe down over by like the mall area on the other end of town to have one down there and one on this end of town, or is that
Do we own any land down there?
probably not? Do we? I don't know. I feel like that's all business owned. Yeah, but that's gonna be hidden back.
Yeah,
That doesn't make
there's
sense.
a
who owns
parking
the
lot
piece
that's
of property
behind the farm
right
table.
on the corner
That's a
where we-
public lot. There's a couple.
by the swamp?
Yeah.
I don't know.
So it sounds like the consensus to do it. I mean,
Yeah.
I was
I-
knocking around this last weekend
Yeah.
and I could not believe how many Teslas were in town.
Oh, I agree. And just, any community of any size that you go to nowadays has
At least a couple.
at least a couple charging stations. And I think to get some information as far as how much they cost,
The other thing is when you
Implementation.
do it, make sure that it gets registered to sites online because people look
Mhm.
for those.
oh, absolutely.
The other issue with that, and again, I am an electrician, is that I think maybe a little caution is advised simply because I can envision several of the operators of service stations going out of business, and that I don't know if the city is going to be competing with private industry. I'm
If it
guessing
beco-
it
if it
will. If you
becomes
can
a-
make a buck, somebody's
Right,
gonna
if it
do it.
becomes an issue, we can revisit that if somebody wants to do that as a private business, but right now, nobody's doing anything.
They step forward and say, we want it.
I mean, I could do it. I have a couple 100-foot 12 gauge cords and I could probably put one in my back 40 there. But
I'd like to get involved with that because I saw a study that the federal government was subsidizing charging stations, and they were talking about $40,000 a pop for a charging station. That sounded like easy money to me.
There's always a catch.
Yeah, well,
It's a service to our.
Yeah, at this point, looking at it as a service,
Certainly doesn't hurt to look.
we
into
have a
it.
lot of people coming through.
So that was a thought, and I haven't gotten any information back from Health Cut. And then I'll call them and say what's going on. So we get some of those prices.
Mhm.
So at the
Anything
next
else?
meeting, we make a move on it, I guess.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And is there anything else that we need to be thinking about at this point in time, moving into budget conversations next month?
uh, there's been a lot of scuttlebutt lately over Water Park.
Oh, I've heard that, yeah. Yeah.
Like a splash pad?
Huh?
Mhm.
Well, splash pad type thing. I know that's it, but maybe you could put a little time into that, then we'll tear down the bathhouse itself.
I can get someone else, we'll pay them. I got 2 kids. Usually have 4 or 5.
Mhm.
Nobody wants to work.
Well, they can get what, $18 an hour flipping burgers at McDonald's?
No, they can't.
13 is
No, they
starting,
can't.
13 starting.
13
That's what it says on their marquee.
could be. I thought somebody said they got 15 to start, but
So anyway, but I want to really focus in on this building and the costs involved with us all living here. And so I'm gonna bring that to August, and they're gonna work on what it costs for each entity to live. What it costs for city hall, what it costs for police, and what it costs for library.
Mhm.
And we need to really look at those
Mhm.
costs. Like I said, it's a test year.
Yeah.
But we also need to ready for next year. What is our cost?
Agree.
I think the other thing, and Rick has brought this up in previous budget years, but looking at the compensation for the council in 2024 or
Yes.
beyond. So not for this next year, but at a time when
Council pay. Yep.
some of us may not be here.
So just bring your ideas to August meeting, and we're just gonna start hashing it out.
Mhm.
I'm thinking, let's just do a committee of the whole, and then we can have budget afterwards. Just sit and talk for
So is that the plan for August then?
August.
And what day of the week is that going to be on?
Wednesday, the 17th.
I was told moving forward it would be on Wednesdays, so that's,
August 17th?
Yeah.
Isn't that the date that we have?
Training?
That's all day. And
Holy
then we're gonna
cow.
get into- It'll probably end at 4-ish.
But our training is 1 to 4 on the
Yeah,
17th.
so like 4.
And then.
You know,
committee of the
we
whole-
get along fine when we meet this long.
Let's say, and then
If
after that.
it's longer
too.
than this, we may struggle.
and that's gonna be in this space, is that correct?
I don't see why not.
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
yeah, August 17th, 2 days.
4 days after mine.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
We'll have birthday cake.
All right, moving along. Public comment. Is that what you're here for? Hi. Great. If you would come up to the podium, introduce yourself, and
Yeah.
Love to hear
My
what
name is Jenny. Nice to meet all of you guys.
hi, Jenny.
I live over on Elm Street, so like I said, I'm relatively close to South Twin. I have spent a lot of time at the beach this summer. There's a lot of kids down there. There's a lot of families coming down there. I'd heard, I put a post on Amen Word of Mouth. I'm sure some of you may have read that comment. Some people did not take kind to some of the things that I mentioned, but they do need to be addressed. The milfoil is extremely bad, and so the milfoil is extremely bad. I've contacted the DNR. I've talked to Alex Smith at the DNR to find out what we can do about this situation. Because like it or not, south and north are connected. Whatever happens in our south is gonna travel to our north.
Goes the other way.
But they're still connected.
It runs through.
The weeds
south.
are all connected. They're gonna go from one lake to the next. People are gonna be on this side, people are gonna be casting on this side, they're gonna travel. Given the fact that South Twin is such a lower lake, the beach being moved, since I've talked to some people, I talked to Ben over at the Lakes Association. He told me we used to have a beach over in North at one point.
Do you mean Steve?
No, Ben, he's the treasurer. I did talk to Steve.
Ben of the Lakes Association?
Yeah, or I'm sorry, John of the Lake Association.
John Berquist?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So I talked to him and he said that you should probably cut the beach over at North to begin with, because it is the deeper lake. And the parasites are a little bit less and we have a lot less chance of getting waterage. So I'm like, okay, well, that makes sense. I agree with that. But at the same time, we already have the beach now itself. And the area itself is deteriorating, as we all know. We've heard from the city work. We got problems with kids down there that need to be addressed. I feel like if we can make it a better, more presentable area for our community by putting in a new playground potentially. I have people in our neighborhood that I've talked to who are willing to come out and do the work. To lessen the stress of the tax dollars, for one. Two, it's just, we have so many little kids. We have to take the little kids and go all the way over here to this park. I'm not saying that it's not a bad deal, you know, it's not that far, but some parents would rather just walk down the road and take their kids to play at the park, you know, or take them to be at the beach. We have a picnic area down there. It doesn't get utilized. That can be cleaned out. The Lions Club donated that building to us. I can see it. And that's a really big area that should have some attention. I talked to another lady out in New Richmond. They put in a fountain over there to help with the circulation for the water itch and the parasites. And that seems to have reduced their issue with that. Alex from the DNR said we can hand rake the lake, but we have to dispose of the weeds. We could dredge the lake, but that's obviously the most expensive cost. We could get eco-friendly herbicide tablets to put into the lake to help to control the weed population and to keep that down. And once we keep that down, we're gonna keep the bird population down because they feed off of the weeds. And then south will also turn into less parasites. I'm willing to do fundraisers. We've come up with some ideas, me and the other neighbors in our neighborhoods, such as seeing if any local businesses would like to have kind of like a art gathering area. You know, we have music in the park, have that out there if you're going to be willing to donate items. So like a silent auction to help raise money for that. Do beach cleanup days down there. Have more fishing tournaments in the city to help raise money, not only just for the city itself in general, but also to help put money back into our lakes. We are the city of lakes. I don't want to see us turn into the city of swamps, and milfoil is a really big issue. We do need boat sprayers. That's another thing I noticed. We don't have any of those at any of our boat launches. Not. And after talking to Alice at the DNR, she said that should be happening. We should have those. I talked to, I believe it was Ben, just the other day, and he did say at one point we had a program for, I believe it was like the last 2 years, if I'm not correct, Ben, where we did have somebody over at North that was monitoring people.
Yeah, we still have that.
Yeah, and I watch people go in and out, but I don't see anybody there.
Is that run through Steve Schaefer's?
And and when I talked to Steve Schaefer too, he said he was gonna send you an email chat, I believe. I don't know if he did.
Yep, he did. And Patty's got it. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I just kind of figure, and it would just be a nice area. It's a nice area. The pickleball courts there,
Mhm.
you know. I feel like if maybe we invested a little bit more, it would help our police force, would help our public force, our public works as well. So if we invest some more money into that area, likelier that more kids are not going to want to destroy it because now they see that people are more utilizing it, and it's not just sitting there pretty much doing nothing. You know, it looks like it was a beautiful place at one time, and for whatever reason, it just kind of went down. I don't understand why, but it did. And I'm willing to do, if you guys would like me to, whatever it takes on my end to help.
Where was the beach when it was on North Twin?
The end of Harriman, where Harriman Avenue, or Maple Street rather, hits the lake.
So if you go straight
As
across.
a senior
straight
reigning
across
person here,
And
and
I
I've
know it
been,
too.
I've been involved with this for over 50 years. The reason that South Twin was abandoned, and the DNR will concur with that, is, you know, eutrophication. That's a term that's used when lakes go from being not very good at all to being even worse. It describes every lake in Wisconsin. They're in some stage of going from a crystal clear lake to a lake that's filled with weeds. Amory, as far as I know, the beach has had it for over 50 years, and it coincides dramatically with the advent of lots of waterfowl in the city, which started because the city authorized raising ducks a few years. The community club did that, 40 years ago or more. And so they raised ducks and they killed the ducks in the fall, enough of them in the fall, and the community club had a duck feed. The unintended consequence was the ducks all poop in the lake. And geese. We never used to have geese ever back there 50 years ago. It was just ducks. But water itch is an uncontrollable, and you mentioned poison. We had a fellow that used to cut weeds here. Julie Raymond Schneider's first husband has
husband, yeah.
passed away. And he used to cut weeds down there, and he put chemicals in the water every, I believe it was 2 weeks at a time, and guaranteed the second week, we always had water itch, always. And it finally,
Let me back that up. What Alex says from the DNR, it's not a poison chemical that we're putting in there. It's an actual eco-friendly herbicide.
yeah,
That is
yeah.
specifically approved by the DNR to
Right.
utilize.
And they were when we had it back then. It was they used things like copper sulfate, various things to control snails, which are the carriers of the water itch. And you know, my kids grew up swimming in North Twin, but they went down to you know, South Twin too. But water itch is virtually impossible to control. So the way
I've been swimming in the local beach all year. This year I have other family members that have swam on the beach. I have not had anybody complain of water itch this year.
and
And I've talked to everybody down at the lake. I have taken aerial views. I have sent them to the DNR of the condition of the lake. I've also sent in the weeds and the pictures of the lake condition that we do have down there per their request. And the milfoil, that's the problem. It's not anything else but the milfoil itself, because when you have too many weeds, you're gonna bring in more duck population. Until you can cut down on the milfoil, it's just gonna be a vicious cycle that's gonna continue to grow. And by working towards finding solutions to help to lessen the milfoil over a period of time, I'm not saying it's gonna happen overnight, it's gonna take a while. But the more effort we put into it, the more we're gonna get back out of it as a community. Because then we're gonna have a useful lake. Like he said, I'm sorry, Jeff, is it? The pool. I've had people say, well, let's just get a community pool. Awesome, great. The problem with the community pool is our taxes are gonna go up. Our property taxes are going up because it's gonna cost more maintenance. It's gonna cost more manpower, and there's more chemicals and stuff in there too that are actually more probably hazardous to some residents that are in this community. Like me, I can't swim in chlorine. So why not utilize what we already have and actually take care of it?
You guys wanna go together and clean weeds, we'll pick them up and get rid of them.
Cool, thanks.
You get the weeds out of there.
If we have your guys, I mean, you guys own it, so we have to come to the city.
Not
To
for the,
get the
not,
blessing to
not
be
for
able to
the,
clean it
not
up.
for the lake.
Yeah, we don't own the lake.
Nobody owns the lake.
When I talked to the DNR, they said the city owns that property. over
oh,
there.
we own
Property.
Beach.
The beach, but not the lake.
So they said we can hand rake them, but I have to get basically your guys' approval to be able to go out and hand rake them. I mean, we're willing to do a beach cleanup day if that's what needs to happen. We were out there yesterday and, a whole bunch of people clean up trash down there.
I think we can let Public Works and Patty
Yep.
give that approval. I don't think the
Yep.
council has
No,
to
we
give that
don't,
approval.
we can't take action anyway.
Like Jeff said,
Mhm.
work with us. on that.
Yeah, that's all we want to do. I mean, just even everybody on the block that I've talked to and other people who come to the beach, they're all willing to, even the teenagers, I've talked to teenagers and stuff that go down there and swim down there. And I said, hey, if we were to come together and clean up the beach, would you guys want to come down and help? And they're all for it. So it's just a matter of, bringing it to your guys' attention that we would like to try to make it look like a better area
Mhm.
for the community in general.
So just get in contact with Jeff and myself.
Perfect.
Yes,
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Sorry, that was a
Thank
little
you.
lengthy, but
no, that's okay. Thank you, Jenny. With that said, I guess, what involvement does the Lake District have with South Twin? Is that included in the district?
yes.
The
Yeah,
Lakes
yeah.
District?
yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And
So
what is the relationship with the Lakes District and the DNR, as far as because anything that happens to the water and to the lake itself, the DNR has to approve. So are they going to be in favor of somebody just going and raking out the lake?
Well, if I understand correctly, because I did ask Steve about this, the statute allows you to hand rake up to 40 feet away
Okay.
from the lake shore. So you can do that without additional permits.
Okay.
Anything beyond that is additional permits. If you put chemicals in, it's permits.
Mhm.
And the DNR, from what Steve had said, typically does not give permits to private residents.
Mhm.
So we would have to, as a city, apply for that permit.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with that, yeah. And I just don't wanna see the lake.
No, I-
Deteriorated, that's all. I
Yeah.
mean, you're all the city, right? And another thing too, for the revenue part, for the city, I had a lot of residents on what we could do, because we have a great campground here already.
We have a lot of residents tell us what we can do.
Kayak up in there, that area where people can utilize, especially when people are coming down the ATV trails, they wanna go camping and stuff, stop over in Amory, they can go camping there. You know, people can have their families come out, go kayaking, go canoeing, but we as a city could charge them. We could have somebody come, go out there, man that area, you know, and charge them for the rentals, and that would bring more revenue back into the city, we also utilize for our parks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other?
I have one other thing.
I'm sorry, I
I-
was gonna ask for more.
It's a collaboration of a lot of
For public comment.
Yes, thank you.
One other thing I have for public comment is with Tim's resignation, I do need to find a replacement. So if you're living in wards 3, 4, or 5 and are interested in joining this fabulous crew, please reach out because I'd like to get that filled as soon as we can.
Any other public comment? Shoot, I meant to look at the calendar and see if there's anything going on this weekend that we need to specifically announce. I don't remember. So, okay, all right.
Just the music tonight. So when
Yeah,
you're done
music
here.
tonight, but almost done. All right. Take a motion to go into closed session.
Make a motion.
Oh, second. Sorry.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to go into closed session, Wisconsin statute 19.85 sub 1 sub C, potential police administrative assistant position, police chief position, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. All in favor of going into
Roll
closed
call.
session would be roll call.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Lanham.
Yes.
Yes.
Banner.
Yes.